Hello and welcome to Carlos and Lisa. I'm Lisa Remillard.
And I'm Carlos Amiskowitz. Nice to have you with us. Living in California, you know you are at risk for an earthquake at any moment.
Obviously, we just went through them around the 4th of July holiday, but I think it had a lot of people thinking, do I have earthquake insurance? Is that such a thing?
Yeah.
We know there's a lot of damage, of course, that gets left in the wake of earthquakes no matter what, and it can be very, very costly. In some cases, it costs homeowners tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars if they lose their home.
You know, look, it's interesting that we had these earthquakes as a reminder of what happened to us during the Northridge quake, which a lot of people have forgotten about. It's been a long time since we had a serious earthquake. It's hard to believe that only 13%, get this, 13% of California homeowners have earthquake insurance. That's
only 13%.
Unbelievable. Now, look, I went through the Northridge earthquake. I had earthquake insurance. FEMA came and helped me out with a little bit. The county helped a little bit. The state had some money, but you had to go through and apply for all that help. It's not fun. And if you didn't have the insurance, you were out of luck. I mean, and you could literally lose everything you have just trying to get your house back in order.
Absolutely.
This is when they say a disaster, personal disaster. It's a personal disaster. Fortunately, of course, everybody in my family was okay, and that's what you hope. But not being protected, not thinking about needing earthquake insurance, not thinking about the things that you might need in case of an emergency. Look what happened with the fires, for example.
Obviously, you know, there's a lot of people that are wondering about it. Only 13% have earthquake insurance, and I know personally when we were talking about the earthquake in my family and with my extended friends, and you know, we were like, well, do you have earthquake? Do you have insurance? And everybody said no. So that led us to question, well, what is earthquake insurance? How do we get it? How much does it cost? So we asked the CEO of the California Earthquake Authority, Glenn Pomeroy, to come in and talk about this. Hi, Glenn.
Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning. Good morning.
So let's talk a little bit about what earthquake insurance is and why there's an earthquake authority and why we just can't go to our insurance company to get it.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for doing this program because you're taking on such an important issue. We learned a couple weeks ago, we're reminded earthquakes can happen anytime, anywhere. And as you pointed out, we're not very well prepared financially. Most of us aren't to survive the aftermath of that devastation. So here's what led to the rise of the California Earthquake Authority. Northridge earthquake, 25 years ago. Very devastating earthquake. Lives were lost, $40 billion in property damage. And after that, most insurance companies, for-profit companies, said, we don't want to do earthquake insurance anymore. So the state of California created this thing called the California Earthquake Authority. We're not a state agency, but we were created by state law to act as a not-for-profit earthquake insurance company for homeowners. That's all we do. Homes, condo, mobile home, and renters. Earthquake insurance on a not-for-profit basis. And we've been around now for about 22 years. We insure over 1 million California policyholders. That's not enough. I think we're going to be growing now after the wake-up call we all got a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, only 1 million. This is a huge state. Just in Los Angeles alone, that's not a number that's even really worth talking about. So why aren't people getting earthquake insurance?
Well, a number of reasons, I think. I mean, until July 4th, it had been 25 years since we've had a big earthquake. That July 4th earthquake was the biggest California had in 20 years. The next day we had a bigger earthquake. So I do think it was a wake-up call, and that kind of got people out of this sense of complacency. We've been in for too long, kind of forgetting about the fact that we live on top of faults. One reason is just don't happen very often. Another reason is people might think the government's going to come bail them out. Carlos, you mentioned that FEMA was there with some assistance back after Northridge, and you're right, it was limited, but it got you through emergency needs, which is great. But it doesn't rebuild homes. FEMA assistance doesn't. So people think that the government's going to come and rebuild their homes. They're living on false hope. They also might not really understand it. Earth insurance is confusing. They might think it's covered in their homeowners policy, but it's not. It's specifically excluded. So that's another myth that presents a barrier. I think the biggest reason, though, why most people don't buy is the misconception that they think it's too expensive. And I understand that because it used to be. After Northridge, prices soared and earthquake insurance was terribly expensive. But because the state formed this not-for-profit organization 22 years ago, we've been working hard to lower our rates. We've lowered them by over 50% since we've been around.
So
and now we offer all these.
I want to just touch on that because I went to the Earthquake Authority website and I pulled up a quote on my mom's house just because we really had this conversation. I pulled up a quote, I put in the home value. You know, of course, the premium was very reasonable. It was like $23 or $53, like for the year, like $23 a month or something. But the deductible, Glenn, was unreasonable. It was like $150,000 for the deductible.
But Lisa, here's the deal. You have a choice now. We've got a calculator on our website. You can set the deductible wherever you want it. It can be set at 5% of the reconstruction value of the home. And what that would mean is that whatever the house is insured for, 5% of that amount will be deducted from the losses that get paid out to you. Yeah. That's a low deductible. You can choose a 25% deductible. On the other end, a very high deductible, which means that more will be deducted from what gets paid to you. So you're buying less coverage, but that premium will cost you less. The thing is, the choice is now yours. It used to be that there was just one choice, a 15% deductible, and people thought, well, that's a really high amount. So now the choice is theirs, 5% all the way to 25%. The amount of coverage you select is in the form of the deductible, and that'll dictate the amount, the price you pay for the insurance policy.
Premium.
If you thought that price you were looking at was affordable, I'd encourage you to move that slider on the deductible down to 5% and see if you can still afford that, because you're getting much more coverage.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I mentioned, and he also brought it up, and that is that there are other funds available for you to help with recovery that you're not aware of when the earthquake. I mean, like I said, there was some FEMA money, there was some county money, and some state money that was also available. But then that was when private insurance insured it. So I had a high deductible on my house as well, and I realized that there was this gap. But you've got a house that's wrecked. You want to get it fixed, so you try everything that you can. Right. And so that makes the affordability part of it kind of a moot point at that. But still, when you're in the middle of a disaster, you need something like this to help you out.
Yeah.
What I think is really Californians out of view, earthquake insurance is just a cost of home ownership. I mean, without it, you're going to be completely on your own. Now, you take that Ridgecrest earthquake from a couple weeks ago, 7.1. You slide that under Los Angeles, and we'd be looking at thousands of homes destroyed, billions of dollars in property damage. And people with earthquake insurance would be contacting their agent, getting an adjuster out there, getting that claim paid. People without earthquake insurance would be facing suddenly a very different future. They might have just lost most of their life savings that they have tied up in their equity in their home. They're going to be on their own without earthquake insurance. It's terribly important to get that message out, which was why I appreciate this discussion, and to also get to point out that it's more affordable than people think. They just got to give it another look.
Glenn, I have a question. It's totally personal. Do you have earthquake insurance on your house? And if you do, what is your deductible? I want to know. I live in Sacramento. I have an earthquake insurance policy. I've got a 15% deductible. And up here in Sacramento, to be honest with you, it doesn't cost very much. The risk is less in Sacramento than it is under the ground where you sit. California.
So, yeah. And that's the thing. The price of the policy is dependent on the risk that house presents. So if it sits on top of a fault or nearby, if it's an older home and built by older construction standards, if it's 2 stories, it's going to cost more. But the need for the coverage is greater.
In our next discussion, we'll discuss flood insurance with Glenn Pomeroy.
Yes. All right, Glenn. Well, we appreciate your time so much this morning. Thank you. It's a very important discussion.
All right, and where can we go? What's the website for the Earthquake Authority?
EarthquakeAuthority.com. Click on Get an Estimate and find out how affordable it is and flexible it is, and get yourself covered.
Glenn, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.